I think that mankind as a whole has forgotten that abundance is our birthright. It's our birthright. And that we as people have been oppressed and suppressed. And yes, you're right, Alex. Every race of people on this planet at one point in the past has been enslaved. And why is it that we are not enslaved anymore? Why is it the fact that majority of people have been free? Now, there are some small pocket of slavery going on here and there, like in Libya. But overall, the vast majority of us are not slaves because in our consciousness, in our sentient consciousness, we know that we go against that. And now we have to realize that as mankind, the elites have found a way to enslave us without us knowing that we're being enslaved. But to do that, they utilize divide and conquer tactics. And these divide and conquer tactics go back to time immemorial, way back into thousands of years ago. You go into ancient texts, they utilize the same system of divide and conquer to keep the people fighting each other while they chopped up all the bread, while they actually lived the life that they wanted, and they lived heaven on earth. They had us thinking that we had to die so that we can live, while they had their heaven now. And it's actually the opposite. I began to realize through all this research and the ancient texts and everything else that we as human beings are powerful people. There's a text called the myth of Adapa. And in this text, which a lot of the biblical texts kind of utilized it to talk about the angels being jealous of human beings, in this text, it talks about the fact that Adapa, which is Adam, was made and created higher than all of the Anunnaki or the Anuna, that the knowledge of the universe was encoded in our bodies, and that we are some of the wisest people and strongest people to ever live in the universe, according to this text. Now, if this is true, which I believe it is, we have to realize that we've been through the bubonic plague, which almost wiped out humanity, Black Plague, Spanish flu, the Inquisitions, which killed over 80 million people worldwide, not worldwide, but in most big regions, right? The Spanish Inquisitions under the order of the popes. And then you had the American Holocaust, unfortunately, where 111 million indigenous tribes were murdered. All these things happen. We can go outside right now and not see dead bodies in the street. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of times. It's the beginning of times. It's the beginning of the awakening. It's the return of the Christ consciousness. That's what it's the return of right now. And if we can see that the divide and conquer tactics and all these wars that they've put us brother against brother, sister against sister, has been them manipulating us.
The government fears Alex Jones, who has the largest audience in the country, bigger than any of the networks, the biggest megaphone in the country.
The deep state hates Alex Jones with a vengeance.
Alex Jones is the most extraordinary person I've ever met.
All right, we're going to be talking to Billy Carson for the rest of the hour, an amazing guest, author, filmmaker, TV host. He is the CEO for Forbidden Knowledge, Inc., the best-selling author of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. And he's been talking for decades about, from the legends and the ancient history books, of what was really under the Giza Plateau Great Pyramid complex. And now you have this ground-penetrating radar from satellites. The Egyptian government's been trying to suppress and not let ground-penetrating radar in that scientists try to bring in on the ground close. But now it's gotten so powerful, and the computers have gotten so good from space, they have found clearly giant structures under it. And years ago, they found other structures, and they're always trying to keep people from looking into it. Here is Billy a few years ago talking about this, and he was on a few years ago with us talking about it, and is being vindicated. So here's a short clip, and then we'll go right to him.
The Great Pyramid at Giza and that plateau is a multifunctional platform or plateau. The Great Pyramid is a multifunctional stone computer, number one. It used to be a power generator, so it generated power as the water used to flow underneath it from the Nile. It's now meandered very, very far away. But back then, it ran right up to the pyramid, and the empty tubes have actually been inside of underneath the pyramid are still there where the water used to flow. When you have running water underneath crystal magnetized granite, you create something called physiostatic electricity. Those ions rush up into the chamber, and they will go into the Grand Gallery. The Grand Gallery used to have resonating rods. Now, the rods have been removed, but the slots where they went up the Grand Gallery are still there till this very day. Then that energy would be pushed into the King's Chamber, which you've been in with me, right? We meditated in there. Inside the King's Chamber, now that area is like a fusion chamber, and the energy would shoot up through the top, through the apex, and now you have wireless energy. Nikola Tesla tapped into the same exact understanding of how that worked and duplicated it with the Wardenclyffe Tower. Now that wireless energy would transmit around the area, and the crystal granite obelisks would capture it. And then if you had something called a JED, a DJED, it looks almost like a Tesla coil with a cable coming out of it. You'll see it in Egyptian hieroglyphs. It's connected to light bulbs and other technologies, electric gold plating. You can then power it wirelessly from the ambient electricity that's been transmitted from miles away from the Great Pyramid. That's just one purpose. Another purpose, when you look at the way that the Great Pyramid is designed, in the Queen's Chamber and then you have the King's Chamber, well, water was set to rush down and into the Queen's Chamber, and with the chemistry and also the metallics down there, you can see how there would be some form of electrolysis that would occur. And I'm not the only one that has this hypothesis. Engineer Christopher Dunn had the same exact hypothesis as me. I just found out about maybe a month ago when I finally talked to him on my podcast. So this electrolysis would extract hydrogen from the oxygen, the H2O, and then you have a hydrogen chamber. So now, what's interesting about that, the way it's connected to the shafts that lead up into space, when you look at the pyramid alignment with the stars on certain millennial alignments, you find out that it aligns with Orion, it aligns with Aldebaran, it aligns with Pleiades, it aligns all these star systems. And what is the frequency that we transmit information on right now from a standpoint of trying to connect with ET? We transmit on the hydrogen frequency because it's the most widely abundant frequency in the universe. So I believe, in my hypothesis, I always say hypothesis versus what I read, is that these shafts would shoot the hydrogen beams out towards those stars on certain particular alignments with information, data encoded into the hydrogen. In other words, an update on this breakaway civilization. It was a communications device, long-range communications to other stars. And then it also is a star map. When you look down at Giza from above, you see the Great Pyramid, the other two pyramids, and you see the temples around. And you can actually connect those with lines and then make circles, concentric circles. You'll get the interplanetary map of our solar system. You'll get the sun in the middle, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and you'll even get Mars. And when you take the NASA map of our solar system and you overlay it, it matches down to the millimeter. That's crazy. It even matches to the astronomical unit, which is the distance from the Earth to the sun. That's a measurement unit to count distances in the vastness of space.
And then you go to the Nazca lines in South America. You go all over the world. All of them basically say the same thing. And so if you go back to what Plato said and others, and they keep, he said where other civilizations were, and they go, oh no, Troy wasn't on this island, and they find the whole thing later. And Plato said this was all going on. So it looks like what we have there in Egypt is one of the big bases around the world. Now they're digging up giant pyramids in China. They're trying to hide it. The Egyptian government's been trying to hide this stuff. And then remember, they were going to go in the King's Chamber, and all these they found in the last decade. They thought there'd be tombs. When they get in there, they find huge copper coils going in, and they find all these new types of communications that they've never seen before that are instruction manuals. So this is what they said thousands of years ago was going on, and it just keeps adding and adding and adding. It's not just this new ground-penetrating radar. That just fits in everything else has been found. So Billy Carson's been doing a great job for years. That clip you just saw was from 9 months ago before this new information came out. He was on with us in August of last year talking about all this. So it's not like we're just looking at this and saying, oh, look, it's real because of this. You can say, oh, well, their scans are wrong. No, this is what they've been saying for thousands of years. So Billy, forbiddenknowledge.com, Forbidden Knowledge on X. Great to have you here, my friend. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start by, first of all, thank you for having me back, Alex. I really appreciate your show, man. The quality of your work is unmatched. I'd like to start with, let's debunk the debunkers, because there are some, Zahi Hawass out of Egypt immediately, before looking at any data, tried to say, oh, no, we don't have any evidence of this. And so right away, he tried to hush it and oppress it like he does with everything, probably so he could steal the information and put his name on it later, and label it an actual discovery so he can get paid. However, so critics are trying to say that, synthetic aperture radar or SAR radar can't scan that deep beneath the Earth, because we're talking about 2 kilometers beneath Giza. So, but they don't understand, this isn't standard SAR technology. It's like it's unlike any other ground penetrating radar that we've ever seen. It's called Biondi's SAR technology, named after the Italian researcher and scientist Biondi. The SAR technology actually employs something called X-band microwaves that have a 10 gigahertz band at 3 centimeters wavelength. Now, this allows it to penetrate from a satellite in space all the way down deep beneath the Earth. But what it does is it doesn't penetrate through the rock. It picks up the vibrations that are happening deep, deep, deep underground. And from the vibrations, right, it detects the subtle surface vibrations and minute shivers, which triggers a resonance response. And this allows it to go deep into special voids that nothing else can ever get to, below or even beneath walls. And as it rides back up these vibrations, it allows it to read all the actual structures and empty spaces. So it sends the data back to the computer, and now it becomes this super advanced level of Doppler. And now we can see everything going on beneath there, and what's down there is exactly what was predicted in my book 5.5 years ago, the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, which I have on page 34, a depiction or a rendering of this deep underground city, which is almost identical to what they discovered just recently.
Well, I mean, it's just amazing. And again, I did read your book after I had you on. It was fascinating. Why don't you first start with the legends, the different cultures that told us this, and then big picture around the world, and then what the ancients said, because you've got people thousands of miles away, the same legends, the same stories, and a lot of this is in the first book of the Bible, it's in Ezekiel, and then it's in all these other cultures. And then what was Egypt in this system?
Yeah, Egypt, if you go to ancient Egypt, start there first, since this is where the discovery came from. We know that the Egyptians, they claim that this man named Thoth, Thoth, ruled over them for 16,000 years. That's them saying it, not me, right? So they say this guy had advanced knowledge. He was the bringer of thought. As a matter of fact, thought is supposedly named after his name, thought, wisdom. And he did this in the land of Kemet before it was called Egypt, and that's where we get alchemy, is from him as well. Now, supposedly, according to this man, Thoth, he says he was the author of the Emerald Tablets. He also claims to have been in that tablet. He says, I am the builder of the Great Pyramid, patterned after Earth's force, so that it too might remain through the ages. So he claims to be the master architect of the Great Pyramid. Now, here's where it gets crazy. In this writing, he talks about something called the Halls of Amenti, that there wasn't just one Halls of Amenti, there were many. And there's different people that had this knowledge, had access to them. And this was deep, deep, deep beneath the pyramids of Giza. And that down there was this massive area with these halls that went on for a very vast area. And according to this text, it's right, because this thing down there is so vast, it can hold 64,000 people if we put people in it to fill it up. Just give you an idea of how big this thing is. And he said he had down there rejuvenation chambers that would allow him to rejuvenate his bodies. He had many, according to the text. He says he had bodies. He would put one in these chambers for 100 years at a time, and then he would walk amongst men, but unlike a man.
And then they made movies out of this after you and others exposed it, like
yes.
Dark Adam or Black Adam. When I saw it, but the point is that's all based on those legends.
It's all based on the legends. They have the same legends going on in Europe. You have, the Greeks, and they talk about this. You have the Sumerians coming out of ancient Mesopotamia. They have halls of Amenti. They have these underground chambers. I just came from Turkey in September. I just came back from Turkey. I went down into Derinkuyu, an underground city that can hold up to 30,000 people with advanced air conditioning techniques built into it. These shafts that went for miles and to bring air to the deepest level. And then when you get to the bottom, there's underground tunnels that lead to hundreds of underground cities, all made with advanced technology. So we're talking about people that had super advanced knowledge, advanced wisdom, and advanced technology, and it was utilized over and over again by different cultures. For example, the people of late Mesopotamia went down there to save their lives from some type of a catastrophe, but they themselves didn't build these underground structures. And the fact that
remember the Romans talked about this all on record. Archimedes had a system with mirrors with lasers where he could burn ships up, and that was on record. And that's just fragments they had of what was done in the past.
Oh yeah, these people had advanced technology. We're now just trying to rediscover what happened in the ancient past. I mean, you talk about Ezekiel's wheel in the biblical text. It's an account of advanced beings having advanced technology and engaging a person that didn't see or have never seen or had been engaged by that level of technology before, right? So all of a sudden, it's like this person thinks that they might be talking directly to God, but these people take him to go meet somebody that potentially is God or whatever. So it's there. We don't understand that this version of human and our technology is not the end all be all. That in the past there seems to have been an account of high level of civilizations in the past.
And it's well known, even in mainstream History Channel, Discovery Channel shows about the Egyptologists and the government. They are always trying to keep anybody from digging, anybody from looking. All the legends said there were all these big chambers and things. They said, no, they weren't. Then they keep finding more and more and more. They finally get into the chambers, as I said. There's footage of this we showed last week. And they say, oh, it's going to have tombs. And no, it doesn't. It's got big copper wires. We just lost your audio. Billy, you might have hit mute. Let's.
Yeah, there are objects, artifacts in the Cairo Museum. And in this Cairo Museum, there are artifacts that look like what you see outside on your electric pole, like Tesla coils with actual wires coming out. Now, the wires are clipped, but the wires are still connected to this metallic device. They try to say it's a religious artifact. No, this thing clearly transmitted energy. Now, we know the ancient Egyptians, for example, had electricity because we have thousands of pieces of electroplated gold. So how did they electroplate gold without having electricity? We have depictions of the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, which I've been in the underground crypts. Depictions of actual technology connected to jets and cables, which would pick up electricity. We have now knowledge of this huge structure that can hold 64,000 people. This underground city underneath the Giza Plateau, underneath the pyramids, that is so large, the Burj Khalifa could sit next to it, and it would be taller than the Burj Khalifa, which is in Dubai, the tallest building in the world. The feat alone of digging that underground would be 10 times more difficult than building the Great Pyramid, 10 times more difficult. So we're talking about an engineering feat that is mind-blowing, and it should be on every mainstream channel right now. This should be the biggest news in the world.
Obviously, what we've been told in modern so-called history is not true. They're always admitting it's not true. And you've got all these mainline Christians that tell you everything in the Bible is literal. But then when you go, okay, well, Ezekiel and all these other books of the Bible, Genesis describes ships coming down, giants that lust after the women, breed with them.
Yes.
Now the bloodline of humans isn't correct, so God is angry and destroys us. So we were in the days of Noah, so we'll be in the day of the Son of Man, the Antichrist. Noah wasn't a perfect person, but he and his family were perfect in their genetic line. And then that's, as you mentioned, what is in all the other cultures have the same story in that area and then around the world. And now they found jade all over South and Central America and Southern North America in these different Mayan temples that they know come from Japan and China. So again, I mean, there's a lot we don't know. From your cobbling together what we do know, more and more of the legends, it turns out, are actually based in reality or partially. How far does this go back? How advanced was it? We know there's cave paintings in Scandinavia, in Africa, with all these different tribes describing creatures that were humanoid that came from the dog star. I mean, all of this.
Yeah. Well, listen, in my book, I wrote Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, right? In there, I claim, according to these ancient texts and this information, we're talking about 36 to 38,000 years ago. Now, when that information first came out, people were telling me I was crazy and this was no way and it couldn't be possible. And now these scientists, this team of scientists using satellite SAR technology, revolutionary technology on this planet, say 38,000 years is what they're estimating that this structure was when the structure was built. 38,000 years. So they're confirming and validating and venerating the work that I put in on this. If you look at the Great Sphinx located at Giza, and you look at the weathering in the enclosure, you can see clearly that the weathering shows it was underwater, the erosion of the stone around the Sphinx. This erosion dates back to, in my opinion, around 36 to 38,000 years. We have a few archaeologists that push that back to 13,000. But if you go back two processional periods, At the time that they're saying 13,000, not the right time to build a monument like that when there's chaos, and probably the Younger Dryas incident where a huge asteroid struck right above Syria and decimated the region and created global flooding. But you go back 2 more processional periods, you're right around the time that Thoth claims to have built the Emerald Tablets and have built the Great Pyramid and the structures surrounding it. The perfect time to build a civilization like this, when he claims he was rebuilding a golden age on this planet. So we're talking about the fact that mankind is very ancient. They have found vases that date back 300 million years. They have found hammers that date back over a crazy number, 100 million years. They found something that looks like a spark plug in California, in America, inside of a geode that was collected by geologists. When they broke it open, they saw what looked like an ancient type of a version of a spark plug when they looked at it. 500 million years old estimated age. So we're talking about the fact that there have been many civilizations on this planet going back hundreds of millions of years, in my opinion, and we're just the newest version, and we keep having amnesia. We keep forgetting because in every iteration of mankind, there's a disaster. There's geological, there's war, there's a combination of both in some cases. And we also, I believe, have what we'll call geologically a pole shift. And I think we've gone through at least 4 pole shifts, and Albert Einstein agreed with this. He's the one I heard say this. 4 pole shifts. That's how Antarctica got shifted into the location it is now.
And we know starting about 50 years ago, it's now moving a few miles a year. It's on the move again. The pole is shifting right now.
Yes, it's pole shifting magnetically and physically. So these pole shifts happen every so many thousands of years. So much has happened to wipe us out, and a few of us start over again. And this is probably the reason for the amnesia. But then you have the elites, the oligarchs that suppress and hold it, and that do have the knowledge and hold it back from us. They hold it back from the general population, because if we get a hold of this information, this knowledge, if we really figure out what really happened and we gain this knowledge and wisdom back, they can't keep their boot on our necks, because we'll realize that we don't really need them, that the world can have free energy. The world can have access to technology that can give us better health and understanding. The world will know that there are maybe potentially more other beings within the known universe, and that we're not the only race of beings. Maybe we'll even discover that we are directly connected to God. So there's so much in this information. They want to keep it away from us because they want to control us. They want to dominate us, and they want to keep their boot on our neck.
Well, they admit that's what they want. And now they've decided it's post-industrial world. They want to get rid of most of us now, because they clearly don't want us to be able to go type 1 civilization, meaning we can survive if the Earth's destroyed. Musk's goal is to get us type 1. That's always been my goal. What do you think of Musk?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting guy. Some things I agree with, some things I don't. I mean, he wants to go to Mars and take people on a one-way trip to Mars. I believe that he probably has a gag order. He can't talk about what already is on Mars. I believe that there's life on Mars right now. Microbial life, potentially viral life, as well as maybe even small life forms like algae and so forth. I believe that could be up there. There are anomalies on Mars that have been downloaded in the Mars images. These anomalies are things that look like remnants of an ancient civilization here on Earth, and they come directly from several different sources. Caltech, from the European Space Agency, NASA, as well as Washington.edu.
Well, the rovers found what they said was the skeletons of microbes. But beyond that, this is like mainline science, folks. The radioactive isotope on Mars would only be created by a giant hydrogen-type bomb. And it's massively... Xenon.
Yeah, weapons-grade xenon. So you're right. They found abundant amount of weapons-grade xenon on the surface and in the atmosphere, which can only be done by nuclear warfare, nuclear fallout. Something happened on Mars, and I think Mars was called the god of war in ancient times for a reason. It wasn't just a myth. There really was a war that extended from Earth to Mars.
And we now know it has frozen ice under both poles.
Yeah, frozen ice, as well as millions of tons of liquid water, according to NASA. They found a lake, a liquid lake. They now have found liquid pools of water. And they're saying that the soil on Mars is better for growing crops than the soil on Earth. How in the world they would know that? I'm not sure. But in the 1970s Vikings mission, they discovered through a science kit that there were microbes on Mars. The scientist that discovered this and who built the science kit was extremely upset and disgusted, and for decades later, tried to go against NASA to release his findings that there is life on Mars. And they hushed him and they shushed him. and they suppressed him, and he kept coming out.
Billy Carson, this was amazing. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Listeners and viewers have been saying, where is Nitric Boost? We love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Nitric Boost is a known national best-selling bodybuilding formula out for over a decade. But we repurposed it because we looked at what top researchers and scientists were saying is so good for your cardiovascular system to clean out your blood, the whole system, and we launched Nitric Boost 4 years ago. Well, it's now exclusively available at realalexjones.com. I'm not going to spend an hour describing how amazing it is. Go look at the ingredients for yourself. It's incredible. It's so good for your stamina, libido, focus, energy. It is amazing. Everybody should be on Nitric Boost, and it helps detox as well. And separately, this sold out at thealexjonestore.com. They held some back at the sister site, realalexjones.com, the tip of the spear, trench knife with the blacked out brass knuckles, the skull crusher, and more. Get yours now. There's only a few hundred left at realalexjones.com, and it funds the tip of the spear in the fight against the globalist. Again, I'm so thankful for all your support. Help us stay on the air at realalexjones.com. Get your knife, your Nitric Boost as well. Well, best-selling author, researcher, talk show host, Billy Carson's impressive, because I know a lot of stuff about this. He knows a lot more than I do. So we're finishing each other's sentences here, but he knows a lot of stuff that I'm only cursorily aware of, and what other governments are doing, and where the world is right now, and the different forces, the different groups that are involved in suppressing the information, who's good, who's bad. ForbiddenKnowledge.com, just the number 4, and then Forbidden Knowledge after that. And there's so much happening, but you want to get into Pentagon soon to solicit proposals for a secretive Avatar project. Pentagon working on Avatar project. Yes, that's what it sounds like. Also, this Russian project, 2045 initiative, which is all publicly going on, but it's all secretive. There's so many other things to get into, but we see that what I would call a great awakening happening. We know happens throughout history in cycles, and there's a real move to try to dumb us down, turn us against each other, in my view, and the globalists admit this, so that knowledge isn't distributed, so that humanity can expand and discover these great secrets they don't want us to know. So you're welcome to go anywhere you want here and get into these projects and more. Anything else you'd like to add about the discoveries there that mirror what the legends say at the pyramid complex in Giza? There's so much to hit, so you've got the floor.
Okay, thank you, sir. So yes, this discovery underneath the Giza plateau, underneath these pyramids, is magnificent, and it's incredible. But it also leads us to this modern technology. In the ancient texts and tablets, specifically the Animal Tablets of Thoth, he talks about the ability of him and several others to transfer their consciousness into other bodies. They claim to be able to create their own clone bodies, so they didn't steal bodies, put them inside of these crystal diorite boxes underneath these pyramids, and then in some way rejuvenate them with some energetic force, which they found energy down there as well, resonating. Now, fast forward that to modern day, we have DARPA. DARPA has discovered a way to connect a field soldier's consciousness into a field robot. So they take the soldier, put him in the underground bunker. In some way, technologically, they transfer his mind through a symbiotic link into a field robot or a drone and have him remote control it. It's called the Avatar Project. And that was when I wrote my book, Companion of the Emerald Tablets, 5.5 years ago. Who knows what they've been able to do now? Transfer now also to 2045 project. Ray Kurzweil headed that project. Their plan back in 2010 was to transfer a monkey's consciousness into a computer. They did that. Monkey was dead, body gone, mind of the monkey in a computer, eating bananas, climbing trees, thinking it's still alive. Then the next plan was to do it to a human mind to a robot. That was like 2015 or 2016. Now the next, of course, by 2045, the ultimate goal is to transfer a human mind into an avatar. So we're talking about the ability to have this unlimited lifespan or immortality via transferring your consciousness. And
I can tell you from the admissions, I've been saying this for 30 years. I made a film endgame about it. The final endgame is get rid of the most of the population. They believe now they'll be able to transfer their consciousness to silicon. That's what the book written in the 50s by one of their top, Illuminati people that also wrote 2001 Space Odyssey, Arthur C. Clarke. That's always been their goal of these projects.
Absolutely, you're right. It's to, number one, of course, control population, handpick the people that have ability to get access to this technology, and to give them immortality so the oligarchs can go on living forever and ruling forever. This is the method that's being used. And if you go back into ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, you see these mummies, the mummification process. These mummies look a lot like the mummification process of the bodies in the sarcophagus look a lot like deep space hibernation boxes or deep space hibernation technology. I believe that in some way, these people were told that they were needing to mummify themselves to preserve their DNA because they would be brought back in this world, in this dimension at a future time, which is why they got themselves buried in hidden locations in the King's Valley, Valley of the Kings, with all of their riches and their worth. Even their cats were mummified and buried with them, their wives and everything else, their assistants and workers. Why would you do that if you were going to the spiritual location?
Well, expanding on that, though, they were always saying that the little pyramids, beside the big ones, were earlier ones where they learned how, but now they've been able to test it. No, they're actually the new ones, people trying to copy it. From what all I've seen, and it's a guesstimation, we lost a lot of the technology, and then people had the legends. They were also trying to copy it. So they'd heard that there were people being rejuvenated down under it. That was all walled off now, so they were also trying to copy it. And we now know, it's not been a secret for hundreds of years, that the main fertilizer from about 300 years on were ships full of mummies from Egypt and other areas, shipped to Europe and put into grinders for fertilizer, because there were millions of mummies. It wasn't just the elite doing it.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. They literally did that. And it's a travesty that they did that, but they did it. If you take a pyramid, Russia did an experiment with the pyramid structure, just the structure or the shape of the pyramid itself. They grew crops on the outside of the pyramid structure, and on the inside, in a hollow area of a pyramid that they made, they grew crops. Same crop. The crop on the inside was many, many more times abundant than the crops on the outside of the pyramid. They did this, they repeated this experiment several times in several places, and they realized that the actual shape, the tetrahedron shape, the pyramidal shape, in some way harnesses energy in a way that rejuvenates biological material and evidence in the plant growth. So now you have people all around duplicating this process. Now here's the crazy thing. The Great Pyramid at Giza was built by, according to the text, Thoth. He leaves, according to the text, and goes to South America and builds this Teotihuacan.
By the way, let me just stop you. I'd forgotten this. The elites in Europe would get Egyptian mummies shipped to them, but they believed it extended their life, and they would literally put a hand in a bowl of milk and then eat it. So it wasn't just for, they thought it was associated. This is some weird stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah. They thought it would extend their life. They thought they were going to get rejuvenated. This is all coming back from the myth, or the really myth, but the myth that was truth about the rejuvenation of the body, and that these bodies had the capability of regenerating and coming back to life. It was always about coming back to life here on Earth, never about transmitting or transcending, into another dimension. And the proof of this goes all the way, the mummies, all you can find in South America, throughout Peru and Chichen Itza in the Yucatan Peninsula and Mexico.
And they find mummies in caves in New Mexico and Nevada, and they're all over the place.
All over the place, all over the place. And the evidence that it was the same people, the Teotihuacan complex, the pyramid of the sun, the moon, and the other pyramid, they're aligned with Orion, like the one in Giza. They're also built over in water aquifer. And the pyramid of the sun is the same exact size of the base of the Great Pyramid at Giza, and exactly 50% the height, and the shafts work the same. So we're talking about the pyramid, the Teotihuacan pyramid complex. It was built by the same master architect, or at least the design flow came from the same master architect as the one in Egypt. And I'm predicting that underneath the pyramid of the sun and those other pyramids, you'll find a massive complex under there as well. They did find a few years ago mercury, flowing mercury, and underground tunnels that were lined with mica, which is an insulator. Why would they need that?
And they also found that in China.
Yes, they did. They found it in China as well.
But let's expand on this, and that's what ancient said was there. Look at this photo of this area in India. These things are all over the place. What's going on here?
The Xi'an pyramids in China, in India, you got them. I mean, it's just mind-blowing.
Wow.
Talking about a lost advanced culture that had advanced knowledge, and under most of these structures, you'll find structures beneath them. There's a subterranean shaft at the Great Pyramid that I descended down into just a few months ago. It goes 65 meters beneath the bedrock into another area that has hidden rooms, and another 30-meter drop straight down from there. and there's even more after that, but they have it walled off, so I couldn't get down to that section. We're talking about going down hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of feet. There's a huge subterranean system going on down there, and according to my Egyptologist and guide, homegrown guide, there's a tunnel running from Giza all the way to the ziggurat of Ur in Iraq.
Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about this. And I got this from very high sources, and then I looked it up and found pieces of it. And it's admitted there's an aquifer, several, under Texas that's more than half the size of the state. You can look it up, and they've sent probes down in there and drilled. It's 1,600 feet deep in areas. There's hundreds and hundreds of feet that's just open. It's caves, and it's giant. I mean, these make the so-called Mammoth Cave and Carlsbad look tiny, and that they've reportedly sent all sorts of submarines and things all through these, all the way from Texas, all the way to the Pacific Ocean, and there's been all sorts of stuff, so that you have the ancients saying there's all this stuff under the earth. Well, now we know there is. Pull up the Edwards Aquifer, folks, and type in how deep's the Edwards Aquifer. It's 1,600 feet. That's what they've measured at some points. And it's not like it's spongy and a bunch of it's rock. No, it's just wide open, giant areas.
Yeah, there's quite a few areas like that. There's one huge one in China that was discovered. It's so deep and open, it has a different ecology. There's plants, there's water, there's even a beach underground. It's an entire culture, civilization in terms of like ecology and animal life underground in this opening that goes down hundreds and hundreds of feet, then opens up. So there's so much about this planet that we just don't know or understand. There's underground rivers, there's underwater rivers. I mean, there's so many things going on. We haven't even scratched the surface. So this discovery in Egypt is just another amazing discovery. And when you think of the feat of digging down 2 kilometers beneath the surface, beneath the bedrock, and then building super megalithic columns that drop down, that have these spirals going around them, which we don't know what they are for yet, into these megalithic boxes at the base that can hold 64,000 people. And potentially they say it seemed like it was something that moved energy around. We're talking about super advanced technology from a super advanced race, potentially from a previous golden age here on Earth that we're now trying to get back to. Us as mankind, the work you're doing here, Alex Jones and many others, is trying to help usher mankind back towards releasing this knowledge, getting an understanding, learning what's happened in the ancient past, and taking us back into a new golden age.
Well, I'm not a Doppler radar expert, but I've talked to people in the Pentagon. It was classified, but decades ago, they could see people 2 miles under a mountain. That's where they know where stuff's at. So obviously these commercial satellites that are able to do this now, it's not just the strength of the radar, it's that they have supercomputers now, and it's such a faster connection that people that don't know, and this is not even classified, but the details are classified, since the 60s to communicate with nuclear submarines and others. They have some up by Dallas, just south of Fort Worth. You can see it off the side of the road. My dad told me about it when I was a kid. Later I looked up and they admit that's what it's for. But there's these big giant antennas on the ground and big X's, and they shoot Morse code through the earth basically instantly to submarines on the other side of the planet in the Pacific Ocean or wherever they want. And it's instantaneous because when the sound wave or the radio wave goes through the rock, it's going through molecule after molecule instantly, just like sonar thousands of miles away. They can send a ping out of the submarine that you can't hear, but whales hear it, drives them crazy, and then it goes thousands of miles. So for people to understand a high-tech Doppler, it's hitting the surface, but then it's bouncing, and then it's bouncing back, picking up the resonance, and then the fast computers now, because they already had radar that shoots all the way through the earth, folks. The radar doesn't go through itself. The bouncing back on the rock does, and it bounces back. And so now they have computers that can read that. That's why they're able to see it. And obviously the government has way more powerful systems they know. Imagine what all the other stuff they know about.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it's crazy. The amount of stuff that they know about would be mind-boggling. It would scare some people. There's so much going on beneath the earth. I mean, we're just like little ticks on the surface, right? But the earth itself is a huge volume. And so there are areas underneath the earth, like the Nika mines located in Mexico, that have these megalithic crystals the size of like your city block. You can only go down there for 15 minutes at a time because it's an enormous amount of heat down there. And that's just one gem hole that we've discovered. There are gem holes all over the planet like this that have these huge openings. And there's also areas that open up like a honeycomb opening that can literally house millions of people beneath the surface.
And that's what the Sumerians and the Assyrians and others said in their writings, that is mirrored, but not as prolific, in Genesis, which again, the preachers say, oh, that's not literal. Okay, but the rest of the Bible's literal. Yeah, so, and they described aliens or another race coming and then engineering us to do the mining. And then look at the Giza Plateau. People that don't know, in South African places, if you're at sea level, you start trying to go a mile down, they have huge air conditioners pumping into it. It's 150, 180, 200 degrees. As you go deeper in the crust, it gets hotter and hotter. But if you do it under a mountain or a plateau, it stays right at like 67, 68 degrees. And now we know what the ancients said is true. The Sahara used to be a lush jungle, and it was growing right up to the pyramids. And they now know that. That's why they're finding alligator and crocodile, skeletons and all that all over the Sahara. So this is amazing what's going on, and it's all right there in the Sumerian text.
Yeah, it's all there, man. It's been in front of our eyes. People say, "Where's all this evidence at?" It's been around. The Epic of Atrahasis, which you just talked about, them making us do the work for them, right? The Epic of Atrahasis.
Yeah, take your time. You're an expert. Explain this. Explain what's in, because again, until 100 years ago, they couldn't decode the stone tablets. Now they have it. Tell them what they're finding.
Oh, they found so much information. We found thousands of tablets. They're located, most of them are located in the British Museum. The biggest and most, the greatest story is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is a huge story. The larger story of the story of Noah is in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And in that text, Noah is actually named Ziusudra. And then you have Gilgamesh, the giant, a massive giant who's half human, half Anunnaki, one of these beings. He's like a Nephilim who has all this great strength, and they fashion a being. They make him like this android to go on this hero's journey with him. And he's trying to find immortality. And he wants to get back to the home planet of his ancestors, and he's denied that ability. But within this, we discovered that he comes across Noah, who has the secret of this herb that can give immortality. And we know now that we found the Noah's Ark tablet, which is now in the British Museum. It's a circular disc that was created, not a big boat like it's in the biblical text. We have the exact text, the exact tablet that showed the exact method on how to make the actual ark. It was a circular ship, pie cut on the inside, and he was told specifically to get the local flora and fauna and his livestock to bring on this disc-shaped device with him. Could it have been maybe a DNA storage bank? We don't know, but that's what the ancient text says. There's also the Enuma Elish, which describes the creation of our solar system, the creation of Earth, and also the creation of the asteroid belt, which is an exploded planet that collided with the moon. And it talks about the fact that Earth was a huge chunk of this place that had water, land, and life, recoalesced, and here we are on Earth right now as human beings. They also talk about seeding people on this planet and bringing people here. The Aboriginals located in Australia say that their verbal handed down history for thousands of years, we were seeded on this planet by Pleiadians. Lakota tribe, Hopi tribe in America, halfway around the world. We were seeded on this planet by Pleiadians. So we have two cultures halfway around the world, totally separate, never supposedly had contact, same exact story. So something interesting has happened in the past, and it just takes a lot of research and time, but it's so exciting to dig into this stuff and figure out what the hell actually happened so we can get rid of this amnesia.
And when I saw Prometheus, the prequel to the Alien franchise, I immediately went and said, I'm going to see what Ridley Scott's saying. And of course, Blade Runner, that's all about eternal life, all the rest of it. And he said, no, this is what the elites believe. It's what I believe. This is my creation story. This is basically what I'm saying from the Anunnaki and all the writings of the Sumerians and the rest of it. And he says, this is what we think. And the globalists aren't atheists. They don't think the ocean created us out of, salts getting together and creating single cell organisms, pure crap. They actually all believe this, what they call transpermia. And that this is the Epic of Gilgamesh is what that movie is about.
Yep, it's literally the Epic of Gilgamesh.
And again, you've got Wayland, the maker of the corporation that's making the synthetic android that he goes with to the planet. He doesn't tell the crew, and here he is. He is now the Epic of this guy going and trying to get eternal life from the aliens, but they won't give it to him. And in this scene, they kill him.
Yeah, that's right. They took this from the tablets and they made it into a Hollywood movie, literally. Even the fact that the structure that they discovered on that planet looks like the Bushegi Sphinx located in Romania, which I was in a documentary about that. And so the Bushegi Sphinx, famous Sphinx located in Romania, the same look of the building that they gave in Hollywood for the Prometheus structure where they discovered the bodies in the spaceship.
So it's literally Gilgamesh with his biological android trying to talk to the aliens that made him, trying to get off world, and they don't give it to him, and they literally showing it all to you right here.
All right in front of your eyes, like hiding in plain sight, right there, all of it.
And in the movie, their mission got killed thousands of years before. What was it, 30,000 or whatever? Just like to actually come and wipe the humans out because they were a bad experiment.
Right, exactly.
And so they're just. But don't worry, the globalists, I believe, they're about to ascend, but they've got to kill us too. That's their main mission. Why is that? I mean, they admit that. Why is that?
Well, you know, in some weird way, they believe it's the destiny. They have they say they have the right to rule over mankind, and in some way, if you look at the Epic of Gilgamesh, Enlil, who they're following, he says, "Call the humans. They're making too much noise. Call the humans. They're clamorous too loud. They stink." He sees certain humans in certain areas not following rules. He says, here's the first record of chemtrails in history. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, he says, spray their fields and dry out their crops so they would starve to death. This is in the Epic of Gilgamesh, first chemtrails that existed. So this mindset of seeing human beings as chattel, as nothing but animals, has progressed through these oligarchs. And so they don't see us as sentient beings that deserve the right to live and be free and have free will. They see us as animals that deserve to be ruled over and that can be killed and taken out at any moment. And
let's look at what the globalists say. Instead of the legend, which is happening now, they admit actually that it's the general public that does the inventions. It's the general mass of people that creates the geniuses. They say if we don't, and they're more internal documents we've read here on air, if we don't wipe out main civilization, there'll be too much competing stuff. We'll go off world and then they won't be in control. It's about control. It's not because we're crap. It's because they want to play God and they believe that by being God, again, it's 2001 Space Odyssey, and he said this. He was the inventor of the telecommunication satellite idea. The Russians launched it first. Arthur C. Clarke said, and all his books were about the transcendence. And first, the computer that we make will try to kill us. Again, back to Gilgamesh, there's this computer, this robot, guiding humans to become immortality. And then finally, they get out there to Saturn, and then, or Lucifer, and then he has to defeat the robot, then he transcends, then he's reincarnated as the Ubermensch. And it's the same show. He's Gilgamesh going out to meet the gods, And on the moon, they put the big black stone obelisk directing them out to Saturn. And then I had Buzz Aldrin say, I want to come on your show. And he comes on like 15 years ago and he says, we already found water. We're going to let the Indians find it later. Years later, they did send them and used a probe to do it. And he said, no, there's actually that real obelisk is really on the single moon of Mars and it's connected to the pyramids. And I said, why are you here? And he goes, well, I've just been sent to tell your audience this. I mean, this is crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, there's a gigantic monolith on the moon Phobos. Now, the moon Phobos, which orbits Mars, they scanned this moon because they were trying to figure out why is the orbit of Phobos degrading around Mars. It's a degrading orbit because they discovered in the scan that Phobos doesn't have enough mass to sustain a stable orbit, and it's going to crash into Mars at some point in the future. Well, say, how can this moon not have enough mass? It's based on the composite of the surface material, it should have it. They discovered it's hollow. And they discovered a gigantic monolith on the actual moon and what appears to look like weapons fire along the outside of the moon. They just said it don't look like asteroid, it looks like weapons fire. And
of course, if you're going to build a real space station, the smartest thing is to hollow out a giant asteroid and do it. That's what they even admit now. Is when NASA was to build that, they said no, it's not ring structures. We want to do it with a hollowed out asteroid, and then they spin that for gravity.
Exactly.
So it's what's left of a space station.
Yeah, what's left of a space station.
Phobos, because it's not even round. It's like a potato.
Yes, oblong.
Yeah,
oblong structure, right? It's a very strange structure. And then when they sent two missions, Russia sent two missions, Phobos 1 and Phobos 2. And Phobos 1 got
Hold on, can you do another 20 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, stay there. Everybody get his book. We'll tell you all about that when we come back. Absolutely vital information. Wow, forbidden knowledge, forbiddenknowledge.com, Billy Carson. Again, the compendium of the Emerald Tablets. I read it, amazing. We're going to go to break, but folks, in fact, that's the interview's out there with Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin says, we need to go to Phobos. We need to go to Phobos. The Russians went there. They know Phobos, Egypt. He said, that's all I'm going to tell you. And then I talked to his assistant. She said, oh, he got in a lot of trouble for that. He can't come back on anymore. He just wanted to tell you. And then I met with him. He told me more in California. It's insane. I tried to get back a hold of him a few years ago. I can't get a hold of him, but this is wild. We're going to go to break. Please remember, ladies and gentlemen, that we're listener-supported. We cannot bring you groundbreaking information that they don't want you to know without your help. We're under attack because they hate us because we're pro-human. We're human. We love you. We're in this together. We want not the fake Illuminati lies. We want the elimination of truth and justice that God gives us. TheAlexJonesStore.com. We have the new collectible coin. It's selling out quick. The Alex Jones fundraiser coin, it's got me on it. You wanted it, we did it. I didn't design it. I wouldn't put myself on a coin, but everybody loves it. We have a few of the daggers left. They had some held back. And we've got the best supplements, TheAlexJonesStore.com. I want to thank all of you that have kept us on the air in the last 8-9 years under intense deep state attack, and we've been winning big time. But the fight just continues on, and it has been your support of RealAlexJones.com, buying the great supplements, getting the great Patriot T-shirts and other apparel, and the collectible limited edition knives and silver coins that has done it. You are literally backing us in our fight to defend ourselves and you from the globalists. Now, there are 2 limited edition items that are going to sell out very, very quickly at RealAlexJones.com. One is this incredible trench knife with the blacked out brass knuckle skull crusher, 10 inches, stainless steel, razor sharp, highest quality, laser engraved limited edition, tip of the spear, Infowars on the other side. These have sold out at TheAlexJonesStore.com. They held some back for the sister site, RealAlexJones.com. Get that now. And the 8th coin in the series, an Alex Jones coin, Infowars coin, selling out quick at RealAlexJones.com. We got our guest for 20 more minutes, and I got all this other massive news that has broken that we're going to get to. I was intending to take calls, but I'll take some, but I've got to hit this other news. We'll just take like 7-8 callers. I'll give the number out coming up next segment. This is a short segment. Some stations don't care, but we're on the internet, so I don't want to waste the time. Everything he's saying is so dead on. It's just amazing. I'm adding a lot, interrupting, but the time we have left this short segment, one more segment after this, Billy, I want to just give you the floor here to just run through all this other knowledge you've got.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I think that humanity has come to a place, we're on a precipice right now, that we can really gain a significant amount of knowledge and look to the past. A lot of people say, why are you focused on the past so much? Well, the past is prologue. And if we can understand what happened back then, we can create a better future for ourselves because we won't make the mistakes again that we've made in the past. We learn from that. I think that what I've learned now from ancient civilizations and traveling around the world 18 times and going to all these ancient sites and reading all this text, it's given me a much broader spectrum, a broader picture. I still believe in God. I believe there's a creator of the universe. The science to me and the mathematics proves that. But I also now believe that within this vast universe, there exist other people, other beings that may have engaged mankind in some way, and that we ourselves could be related to these people, that they aren't just random people, that there are people that we are related to. And the reason why is because it appears in some way in the biblical text that they mated with us and gave birth to offspring. And I don't believe this text is just fabricated. I believe that information is actually true. And I think that these people were savants, masters of engineering and technology, masters and wizards of information and spirituality, and they utilized that knowledge to build vast civilizations around the earth. I believe now, after reading the Emerald Tablets and writing this book, the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, that Atlantis was not just a ring city. Atlantis was a global civilization. The ring city was just one of many capitals that existed. We have the Aztlan Wall in Texas. We have remnants of Atlantis located in Australia. We have off the coast of India. We have the Indian Ocean. We have sunken cities, remnants of Atlantis. We have off the coast of Cuba, discovered pyramids underneath the water of the Atlantic, massive pyramids. A structure in the center of the Bermuda Triangle. And if you draw a line straight through the Bermuda Triangle, right from the center, through the earth, you pop out at the Dragon's Triangle on the other side of the planet, located in Japan, where there's a Yonaguni underwater submerged pyramid. The story is so vast and so complex, we'll be researching it for hundreds of years. But if we continue to look into this information, we'll find and create and build ourselves a better picture of what happened, who we are, where we came from, and where we can go from here. And we can realize that we are truly a race of people that are significant and important, and that we are now today the survivors of all that has happened, all the catastrophes, all the wars, all the diseases, everything that's happened, and we're here, which means we're the strongest people that have ever existed. And if we can get that knowledge in our head, and we can come together in love and unity, we can organize and we can take back control of our planet.
That's so beautiful. They don't want us to know who we are. It's all about making us fight with each other. It's all about making us feel like victims. It's all about looking at hardship and then hating each other. And it's the opposite. Everything the bad guys want us to do is to weaken us. whatever they say, it's the opposite. We're going to break in a moment, but I want you to elaborate on that when we come back. Studying the different cults that had this knowledge and suppressed it, and then dole it out a little bit at a time to build this system where they use us to build it and then get rid of us right before they launch. How would you describe the organizations, the cults, the groups when we come back? But spend a minute first on your book. Tell people that haven't read the book about the Emerald Tablets. Tell us about the book.
Okay. Well, the book is amazing because the book really is going off the work of Thoth, the Atlantean priest king. That's what he calls himself. Now, the Egyptians say he ruled over the land of Kemet for 16,000 years. He's depicted all throughout ancient Egypt on all the buildings, all the temples, all the hieroglyphs. He's everywhere. He's a bringer of knowledge and word and language and thought and science to the world, according to the text. You can discover him on the Library of Congress, located in Washington, D.C. When you go to open the doors, he's etched into the door at the Library of Congress.
I've seen it.
This man traveled the world.
Guys, pull up a Library of Congress doors. It's amazing.
Yeah. So we're talking about significant wisdom, understanding, and knowledge that this man brought. He wrote these tablets. He wrote several tablets. One of them is the Book of Thoth, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. And here I have the...
Hold on, stay there. Back in 60. Amazing. Billy Carson. Billy Carson, researcher, best-selling author of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, and so much more, just said something massive, and some radio stations don't carry the first five, so I want you to repeat that about we're the survivors. We're with all that's gone on throughout history, just the known history, and now all the so-called mainline modern science and archaeology has been proven to be a lie. What the ancients said is more and more being proven not be legend, but to be passed down truth. That's pretty much dead on. So repeating that and expanding on that, it's so important to not have a victimology, but have the media tell us we're bad because we're white and our ancestors did this, or you're bad because you're black because your ancestors were nobody and slaves. Everybody's been slaves in history. And the truth is we're all been slaves to these secret societies and groups that know this and have been suppressing it. And it's not about what color we are. It's about understanding this and embracing our real destiny. That's the way I would put it. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, absolutely. I think that mankind as a whole has forgotten that abundance is our birthright. It's our birthright. And that we as people have been oppressed and suppressed. And yes, you're right, Alex. Every race of people on this planet at one point in the past has been enslaved. And why is it that we are not enslaved anymore? Why is it the fact that majority of people have been free? Now, there are some small pocket of slavery going on here and there, like in Libya. But overall, the vast majority of us are not slaves because in our consciousness, in our sentient consciousness, we know that we go against that. And now we have to realize that as mankind, the elites have found a way to enslave us without us knowing that we're being enslaved. But to do that, they utilize divide and conquer tactics. And these divide and conquer tactics go back to time immemorial, way back into thousands of years ago. You go into ancient texts, they utilize the same system of divide and conquer to keep the people fighting each other while they chopped up all the bread, while they actually lived the life that they wanted, and they lived heaven on earth. They had us thinking that we had to die so that we can live, while they had their heaven now. And it's actually the opposite. I began to realize through all this research and the ancient texts and everything else that we as human beings are powerful people. There's a text called the Myth of Adapa. And in this text, which a lot of the biblical texts kind of utilized it to talk about the angels being jealous of human beings, in this text, it talks about the fact that Adapa, which is Adam, was made and created higher than all of the Anunnaki or the Anuna, that the knowledge of the universe was encoded in our bodies, and that we are some of the wisest people and strongest people to ever live in the universe, according to this text. Now, if this is true, which I believe it is, we have to realize that we've been through the bubonic plague, which almost wiped out humanity, Black Plague, Spanish flu, the Inquisitions, which killed over 80 million people worldwide, not worldwide, but in most big regions, right? The Spanish Inquisitions under the order of the popes. And then you had the American Holocaust, unfortunately, where 111 million indigenous tribes were murdered. All these things happen. We can go outside right now and not see dead bodies in the street. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of times. It's the beginning of times. It's the beginning of the awakening. It's the return of the Christ consciousness. That's what it's the return of right now. And if we can see that the divide and conquer tactics and all of these wars that they've put us brother against brother, sister against sister, has been them manipulating us
Well, let's expand on, quote, racism. I mean, my view, racism, which they would call tribalism, is really what it is. Like, I've read the Roman histories. They didn't see Africans as inferior. They didn't, and Africans didn't see Romans as inferior or Greeks. No. They saw it as the classes, you know, the elite priest class, the scientist, and on down. And that is something more that just got created and pushed in the last 500 years or so as an excuse for enslaving people. Before, it was just, if we can capture you and kill your men and brainwash you, we're going to make you slaves. It wasn't because you're not superior or you're not as good as us. It's if we can dominate you, then we'll use you as slaves in some cultures. But they've somehow imprinted this thing. When somebody thinks they're a victim, or somebody thinks, well, this happened to my ancestors, whether they're white or black or anybody, it becomes this thing where you don't realize how powerful you are, so everything's negative, and you just think you're going to keep losing, and it makes you madder and madder. And that's what Klaus Schwab says. We want to make people angry and divided with no hope.
Yeah, exactly. We have to get rid of the PTSD, and we have to obtain something called PTG, post-traumatic growth. So we realize what happened. We learn from it. We realize that the traumatic situation is in our bodies because of epigenetic memory. Scientists discovered that 15 to 20 years of generations of the negative memories are inside of our bodies. It's called epigenetic memories. It's real peer-reviewed science.
Yeah, that's where, no, it's totally proven. That's where instincts come from. It's subconsciously, that's how we see it, suppressed because you couldn't handle it all. But that's why you're scared of the edge of a cliff. That's why you're all those things that not just us, all the other animals have the instincts. It is literally the hard-coded data of our ancestors.
Yes, we have to reprogram that negative data. We have to say to ourselves, we have to separate ourselves from our thoughts and realize we're not our thoughts. We are the observer of our thoughts. And if we can become the observer of our thoughts, we can begin to reprogram ourselves, separate ourselves from the instantaneous response action, and make a better decision on how to respond to things. Take yourself out of the victim mindset and put yourself in the growth mindset.
And that's what Jesus was talking about, and it is spiritual. It's the Holy Spirit. Sorry, I'm making great points.
Yes.
Is that you have to be born again and get over the sins of the forefathers. And we now know that's literally epigenetic. You're carrying that with you, but literally opening yourself up to God and through free will, you can cut that program off. That's what you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. No doubt, without a doubt. You can unlearn and relearn through that exact method, and you'll be born again many times in one lifetime as you grow consciously and look back on your previous self and go look back and say, oh, I was down there, but now I'm here. I was here, now I'm here. And you can see yourself grow like becoming an ascended master just like Jesus. No difference.
Well, I mean, obviously, I believe Jesus knows the Son of God and the thing, but I've definitely noticed myself without reading a bunch of books that as I've gotten older and learned more and gone through, it's like I suddenly level up, and then just get more and more understanding of the knowledge. It just gets wild. And I think that's what you're saying you've experienced.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You know, in the Bible, Jesus says, you shall do greater things than I. He also says, ye are God. So he's letting us know, like, the power is in us, but we are not acknowledging our own power. And when we don't acknowledge the power, then what happens is we don't walk in that power. When we don't walk in power, you have the victim mindset. You're weak. You don't think you have the capability to achieve or do things, and you're always waiting for somebody to give you a handout. But when you understand the power's in you and you learn how to walk in the power that has been ordained to us, then things change for you. The matrix begins to bend to your will. You begin to control your own destiny to some point, and you'll be able to help create your own reality.
And let's explain that, because again, they're trying to make you trigger and focus on bad epigenetic events. They admit this, demoralizing. Instead of saying, no, I'm positive, I dial into the good instincts and God's spirit that God's given me. And then pressure isn't seen as something that's bad. It's actually like lifting weights. It makes you stronger. And that, again, is not what they want. So it's all about hating each other. It's all about just getting in a totally negative place, and then everybody else picks up on the negativity and now doesn't like you because they don't like, and so you isolate yourselves, which is exactly what they want.
Exactly what they want, literally. And people have to realize that when you say to God, give me more peace, well, then God's going to put you in a situation where you have to obtain more peace, and it's not going to be a peaceful situation. You're going to have to learn how to obtain peace from chaos. You say, I'd like more abundance. Well, you're going to be put in a situation where you don't have abundance, so you can learn how to rely on yourself and dig deep within yourself to do what it takes to put the conscious thought back by action to create the manifestation and to create the abundance. So you have to understand, like, when you see something that's dark, not to take the victim in it, but to see the good in it, you can get out of it. How can you turn this situation alchemically into something positive and grow spiritually with that thing and realize that it is a gift from God?
In closing, I've been interrupting a lot because I really agree with you on so much. 5 minutes of other key intel and other big things you're working on, Billy Carson.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have a brand new docu-series that costs $500,000 to film. It's called Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed. It's a high-level, high-quality. It could be on Netflix or Amazon Prime Video, but it's on our TV network, Forbidden Knowledge TV with the number 4. Just go to get your Forbidden Knowledge TV app and binge watch season 1 with myself and Eric Von Daniken, Matthew LaCroix, and other great researchers and archaeologists from around the world. Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed. In there, we go into the Pleiadian star system. We go into the ancient wars in the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas, the Rig Veda with the Battle of the 10 Kings, which according to the text took place in space. We talk about the pyramids. We talk about the structures beneath the pyramids. And this film was filmed almost 2 years ago. Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed goes into all this incredible information. We decode, we break down, and we show all of the sources throughout the docuseries so that you can become a researcher and look this stuff up yourself. And of course, if you'd like to come with me to Egypt and go beneath the pyramids and see what's under there, just go to forbiddenknowledge.com and go to upcoming tours, and I'll take you there personally myself on a VIP tour of Egypt. And when we go on these sites, all the tourists have to leave. When we show up, we go on private visits, and everyone leaves. It's a private visit for us only. And we explore, we learn, we show you tool marks, we show you where ancient evidence of ancient technology that existed in the past. And we'll take you to the halls of Amenti located in Saqqara and take you underground to rejuvenation chambers that still exist till this very day. And we'll show you technology that could have warped diorite, warped actual stone diorite that was made into a gigantic box in one of the halls. And we'll take you to another room where you'll see the radioactive symbol on the lid that weighs about almost 1,000 tons. So this incredible stuff that we go to see, we really do great research. And we do scholarship on our tours. We teach people information about stuff. Like, for example, right now in Egypt, they discovered that the location at the Osirian, which is beneath the Temple of Seti I, potentially could have been a hydroponics type of a power generator utilizing water. It's not a temple. They keep calling it a temple, but the Osirian is most likely a place where they use water to generate electricity, a huge power plant. And so all the stuff we discover, man, we bring it to the world, and the flower of life symbol is etched into the columns here in some way, etched into the atomic structure of the column, not painted on, but in the atomic structure of the column itself. There's just so much information going on, and there's discovering some of these symbols might be the key to 0-point energy, anti-gravity. All these things are coming out now, and we're trying to bring it to the world. And
let me just back you up on that. I know all these Indian temples. They look at the symbols all over those. They're 3,000 years old or older.
Crazy.
And it's all now with only computers. They know it, the exact code for the different sound frequencies and the sandboards.
Cymatics. It's called cymatic frequencies. With Chladni Place, you can reproduce some of those cymatic frequencies. We found one cymatic frequency that creates anti-gravity and levitates water droplets. It's located on a Sumerian cylinder scroll located in the British Museum.
And again, folks, people are taking pictures of these now, putting them into the computers, using the frequency, and you can do this and levitating water. I mean, this is super advanced stuff.
Yes, exactly. And this is literally how they manipulated matter in the ancient past. They had this knowledge a long time ago. We're just now simply rediscovering it. They also talk in the text about utilizing these frequencies to cure diseases. They said they would utilize the frequencies to cure the heroes of old. And now what have they discovered? They just discovered how to kill cancer cells with frequencies, okay? They just discovered this, and I talked about this 3 years ago on the Sean Ryan Show podcast, that eventually you'll use frequencies to kill cancer. Last year, they actually did it.
And just as in the ancient text, there's always a group that doesn't want the general public to have this, and that's what the globalists say. Technology is getting out of control. We got to wipe everybody out and start over again. So whether we believe this happened in the past or not, why now that we get it and have technology to see what it does, they plug in, it does all this stuff. Somebody, that was my question last segment, and in closing, we didn't get to that. What would you call the bad group, or how many different groups are there, or who are the bad guys, who are the good guys?
I'll tell you what, so in the ancient times, they had something called the mystery schools. Not the Egyptian mystery, but the mystery schools. The Egyptian mysteries came out later. That term came out later. We're talking about tens of thousands of years ago. Only adept initiates were allowed in to get this secret, sacred knowledge of all the stuff about spirituality, the power of the mind, God, as above, so below, all the principles, hermetic principles, all that was included in there, plus many, many more. Building techniques. handpicked people. Later on, as these beings started to disappear, these teachers, these great teachers started disappearing, these other people started coming on board and letting more people get a hold of this knowledge. The secret societies spurred off of the original mystery schools. The mystery schools were the source of teaching, power of light, and the power of being spiritual and a great person, and how to access and save and store this secret knowledge started turning dark. And those secret societies spun off of that. And in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, they call them the Dark Brothers. And they warn us of these Dark Brothers that would create these groups. And they did this thousands of years ago. So they warned us ahead of time that the Dark Brothers were going to come in the future. They were going to spin off of this knowledge, and they were going to create dark societies, which actually exist today. Skull and Crossbones, Illuminati, I mean, all these, the Bilderberg Group, all these things spur off.
And for those that don't know,
mysteries.
Absolutely, for those that don't know, a bunch of the documents, Charles Isby's dad was part of Skull and Bones, got leaked to her. She was the head of the Department of Education under Reagan, and she released it all secretly at the time, but years later, publicly, did it here on my show. She's dead now. And the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt, the Jesuit priest in Germany, went and set up the French Revolution. Washington wrote about it and said, they're not the real people trying to eliminate. They claim they're for the light, but they're the counterfeit. So when you hear everything from these people, they go, oh, we're the Illuminati. Well, Illuminati just means light. Well, Christ is the light. Yeah. So when they say that, it's the inversion. So really, those of us that are publicly with this, that's light, that's open. Occult means hidden. So there's nothing illuminating about occult or darkness. Occult just means hidden or dark. Doesn't mean dark skin, folks. It means darkness that you don't see what's going on. So it literally is a battle between light and dark.
Yes, absolutely. You hit it right on the head, man. That's what's happening. That's who's out here running this planet. We have 8.3 billion people being controlled by about 100 families. And underneath them, they have a hierarchy of some of the top leaders of some of these major Fortune 500 corporations. And then underneath there, you have the poly tricksters and so forth and so on. So there's levels to this thing. And unfortunately, the majority of humanity is at the bottom. And even though we're the ones that are to inherit Earth and to be able to have control over them, they flipped it and have it where they're controlling us. And until we come together and realize that together we have the power, then we can take back control of this planet.
And do you agree that definitely there's the greatest awakening we know in modern history and recorded history is happening? And you talked about compartmentalization, secret societies. Zabig Brzezinski wrote about this, but they'll create a criminal scam for an aim they want. They'll set it up through government corporations with mercenaries that just are given how to run the scam but not told why they're doing it. They get a bunch of money. We then every once in a while break through to the lower level criminal enforcers, but never get any of the real plans because it was just about money for them. But then you can pull back in a Hegelian dialectic and see how they're manipulating the larger system for chaos. And Brzezinski wrote books bragging about this. Carol Quigley wrote books bragging about it. It's how I know it. And that's how then I can see their different criminal operations and understand how they're playing them off against each other. And it just, imagine if these people were exposed and stopped, and because they just hand it down to the generations, how quickly humanity would just do incredible things. What do you think, in closing, about Trump? Because I see a lot of bad guys going after him. I think he's a good guy overall. They're trying to kill him. I mean, I see a definite break there. And I also realize that a lot of the elites realize they want to try to make everybody poor. A lot of the numbers show they would cause a war that would kill everybody. So there's a lot of people that say, hey, we're not going to do this depopulation just because it wouldn't even work. I'm not saying Trump's evil but knows it won't work, so he's not doing it, or kind of a watered down plan. I'm just trying to be as cynical as possible, just to war game it all. And again, it won't hurt my feelings. You kind of hesitated. What's your real view of Elon Musk? What's your real view of Donald Trump?
Yeah, well, Donald Trump, I think that, be honest with you, I was kind of surprised because I've been against polytricksters for a very long time. I call them polytricksters, but I believe that some of the things he's done actually have been good, which is amazing. He's done some things I thought were good, but he's also done some things I thought were kind of strange, not so good. So Elon Musk, I mean, he's gone and he's discovered a lot of this illegal spending, which we know. I've been reporting about it for over a decade online about all these, hammers costing the government, $1,000 or $1,500 for a washer. Illegal money is going out to things that don't exist, and people getting paid underneath the table. So he's discovered all of this stuff, and I heard him say recently on Joe Rogan that he can't expose all of it because they'll kill him. So I mean, he's obviously put his company on the line. His stock is going down significantly. He's being attacked, bombs being found at his place, and everything else. So I mean, it's a little bit here or there in terms of what their real agenda is. But in some ways, they're helping out. In some ways, I think there could be some areas that could be done better, personally. But I do think that overall, there has been some changes that I personally would have done if I became president. With all this, just transgender stuff and all this forcing it down my kids' throats and everything else. I agree with that stuff. I mean, I can't lie to you. I agree with it. I agree with some of the changes that have been made and some of the executive orders that actually have been signed. I actually agree with some of this stuff. So it's actually turned me around a little bit. Then, of course, bringing on RFK Jr., I agree with a lot of his health statutes. I believe that what he's doing with seed oils and vaccines and everything else is revolutionary, something I've been waiting for. So as a person who's a revolutionary and a revolutionary mind, I have to say at the end of the day, I have to also recognize when something shows up that seems to be more revolutionary than what we've had in the past. And so far, it seems a little bit more revolutionary. Do I agree with everything 100%? No. But some of these things that have happened, I actually agree with.
I totally agree. You judge a tree by its fruits, as Christ said. And look, for whatever reason it's happening, they're irrevocably damaging the control system and the cult, the darkness cult. And so the cult is not happy. But I've seen Musk, and I've said this myself. Let's say Musk is a sociopath. I'm not saying he doesn't think he's a good guy, or Trump. But they've told the globals public. They said, listen, your plan to cut off resources, get rid of most of the people, you'll never get away with it. It's going to cause giant wars. We'll all get killed. Just from the point of the globalist plan won't work, and they'll end up getting killed. Their bunkers aren't safe. A nuclear war is not survivable. There are elites and other groups now that now that we're coming up to the cataclysm or up to their great reset, because they know the Great Awakening's here, they want to have a great reset ahead of it to stop us. There are other people saying, no, let's just go to the stars. Let's expand it. And Trump can be the turnaround guy, and so can Musk talk about a new golden age, not of America, but for humanity.
Yeah. I think that some of the work they're laying down now can be built upon in the future, right? So everyone has their short period of time to run. And I got to admit, a lot of stuff has been done in a very short period of time. I can't take that away. I got to give credit where credit is due, man. I'm not an idiot. I think that got to give credit where credit is due. I think certain things have been done that I actually agree with, and I'll stand up to that against anybody. I'm not a yes man.
Well, me neither. I don't like the leveling of Gaza and Israel standing down. That's all, and all that sick stuff. But at the end of the day, definitely Trump is a change. This is a big time, and Musk has stuck his neck out there. I know I have. I know I'm real. I know I understand. I mean, I actually love everybody already just that way genetically, but then I see how God built me that way, because that's what builds a society for everybody where we're all nice and not, I'm not going to put up with anybody's crap either. But the point is, I'm not trying to take something from people, because I realize the genetic memory of total abundance, unlimited. We already know it's there.
Yes. We've
broken free of that. Get out of the way. There's unlimited space in the universe, and I want to see this adventure for our future progeny. And I want to, it's just amazing. All right, Billy Carson, very impressive. Let's not wait a year to get you back on. Anytime you got news, call us. I'd love you to host the 4th hour sometime. God bless you, my friend. People can find your great work at the number 4, biddenknowledge.com, Forbidden Knowledge on X. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that was another impressive interview with him, even more impressive than the last one. We got to get that guy on more. It's like years go by like 5 seconds. We just, Daria, producers, Scott, try to get him on at least once a month. Just boom, that guy knows his stuff. That guy is smart. We wrote the book together on the modern information war and how to take down the tyrannical globalist. We're seeing the biggest victories in our history. And just like I was funding our operation 25, 26, 27 years ago, selling Patriot t-shirts to get the word out so we could identify each other and realize our strengths, we have come from when I would see maybe one Patriot t-shirt in an airport once a year, though I flew dozens of times a year, to every time I go to the airport, they are the most popular genre you see, not sports anymore. Because liberty and freedom is so incredibly popular. It is an adventure to wear the 1776 Americana shirts, the Trump shirts, the Infowars shirts, the comedy shirts, the largest selection anywhere at thealexjonestore.com. I mean, it is insane. New ones every day, all made in Arkansas and shipped out to you around the country from our sponsor, Bigley, that owns thealexjonestore.com. It's an adventure to wear them. Join or die. Modern Gadsden flag design in olive green or in black. It just goes on and on. This is the uniform of the Patriots. The left wants to burn up Tesla trucks and sue us into oblivion and try to kill Trump because they want to intimidate everybody. We outnumber them massively. Wear the shirts. Start the adventure. Fund the operation. This is the uniform of the Second American Revolution worldwide. Look at this bad boy. 47 and 45 together. A design I came up with. You know what our marketing plan is? Designs I like. that Bigley comes up with, the crew comes up with, that listeners send us, that I come up with. And the funny thing is, anything I like or I design magically is a bestseller because you're just like me. That's what it's all about. We're simpatico. Get this bad boy right now at thealexjonesstore.com. Let's look at this bad boy. The Second Amendment protects the First. I designed this. Class of 1776, another badass shirt. Look at this baby. Yeah, it's an XXL. Back when I was fat, before I lost 63 pounds in the last 8 months. Oh, don't worry, we got it in your size. This was a fan design site. I was like, I don't know. I want to put thinking about me for president as a joke. People love it. This is a bestseller. Alex Jones for president 2028, thealexjonesstore.com. Now, this is a redesign of a shirt I put out more than 20 years ago, and I'm very proud of this because this design and similar ones that we created is now the most popular Patriot design. I see the Ring of Stars, the Gadsden Snake at the airport, the gym, everywhere. Everybody's putting this out. This is just a fan favorite, grassroots everywhere. And so we remade it and relaunched it, again available at thealexjonesstore.com. I knew the minute I came up with this idea that it was going to be a bestseller. And this is one of the top 3 sellers out of hundreds and hundreds of shirts. That big electoral victory map from the 2024 election with Trump, evil lost. It says it all, ladies and gentlemen. Get yours now. You know where, thealexjonesstore.com. Now, this seems like a lot of cool designs to you. Believe me, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds on the site. It's crazy. Ball caps, you name it. And I said there's like 4 different genres. Classic, Patriot, Trump, Infowars, Alex Jones, comedy. There's also what the guys at Bigley come up with. I call the triggering line. There's more than 50 of them. Look at this. U.S. Border Patrol, send them back. There's a lot of really wild stuff, but you wear this in San Francisco, you're probably going to get killed. Wear it somewhere else, you're going to probably get your dinner bought for you. All these and more are available right now. It's how we stay on the air. It's an information war. It's about who wants it most. We've won major battles, but not the war. Thanks for keeping us on air. Buy collectible, badass knives, the best supplements, and more. The biggest selection of Patriot apparel at thealexjonesstore.com. And I thank you for keeping us in the fight because we're fighting for you. I'm fighting for myself. We're in this fight together, and we can't do it without you. So thank you so much for your past support.